And while I'm looking at dictaphone type stuff, or stenographer, whatever it was, stenorette or whatever it was called, here's a Lanier. Looks like the same sort of thing, great big connector for, I guess, microphone and controls. So this could probably be used sort of remotely. Made in Japan. Got the screws out, so let's see. Looks like this is at least just a compact cassette. Cords being cut. Ooh, belts are knackered. That's turning into goo. So I've got one motor to run the capstan and one to run the reel by the look of it. So that's a new design. Why you would make two motors in there to do that, I don't know. Possibly a record switch there, or if there's anything even connected, maybe not. Since it's kind of similar to one of the old hi-fi, flat hi-fi type cassettes. On-off switch, and that's eject. Oh, that opens up further as well. That's got a snazzy little design. Oh, another, it must be a counter on the front, so I've got a counter belt that looks a bit knackered as well. Surprisingly clean in here for something that would have been used commercially, you would think. And fast forward, rewind. No ability to go and record. Power on off, I guess it's power LED, volume and tone going by the symbols. Or something else here, not sure what that is. It is plus and minus something. That must be internal speaker on off. Or does it have an internal speaker? I don't know that it does. It's got a grill, so it probably does. There's no sign of one. Unless it's just a very thin one. Which it could be. There's some electronics up above the tape deck there. Maybe I should pull this whole mech out and have a look. It looks like it may come out fairly easily. Maybe. Gotta love things that you can completely remove the casing from. It's got to be other. There's one of them. I'm going to say there's got to be screws down the front of you somewhere. And then there's a few knobs and probably eject the cassette door. There's the other one. So you don't have to take the circuit board out, which was going to be my next thought. Yeah, like a usual Japanese thing, nicely designed to not be a real pain. Get those knobs off. Check the door just to be sure. Don't know whether it actually needed it. Look at that. Hey, it does have a speaker in there. Don't you love simple design? Pull that, even can unplug the speaker. Wonderful. So a great big transformer in there, adding a bit of weight. Sankyo motor, so this is like the early sort of 70s era. That's what you'd expect in a cassette player, boombox, etc. from the 70s. It's got this Canon motor. Canon Seiki Co Limited, I think it says. Tokyo, Japan. Japanese capacitor. So that's probably an audio amplifier board, I would guess. Maybe, or is it some sort of motor speaker? Or I've got a main bridge rectifier, some sort of voltage regulator, possibly another voltage regulator. I've got a UA723. So that's definitely a voltage regulated chip from memory. Is that what it is? Yeah, is it 723? Used to be the common 14 pin or 16 pin voltage regulator IC, I think. Could be wrong, but I might have to check that. Guess we could have a look at this board as well. So where were those speaker wires? They probably go via, I did see a headphone socket I thought on this thing somewhere there. Whether it is a headphone socket. So you've got a black and orange wire. Black and orange wire comes all the way over somewhere, maybe amongst this stuff. I still don't know what that other potentiometer does. Oh no, no, wait, it doesn't go up onto this board. Maybe it goes up onto this board, the black and orange wire. So just have a little washer under them. One of them definitely doesn't because it wants to be earthed or earthing things out. Okay, back onto this Lanier dictation or transcription machine, whatever it is. It's only a playback machine, so I guess it's just for transcription, so playing back. Head on this looks just to be one track. Obviously it's not stereo, but it's only half the head on this, unlike the Grundig one I looked at, which had the head right across the whole width. So the 2 tracks on the tape. This obviously for compact cassette does double-sided tapes, I guess. So it sticks with the standard format. I might just get rid of this remains of a power cord that someone's cut off it and hook in a temporary new one. Try and get this cable clamp grommet out of here. Probably easier from the back side. Yeah, let's go on. And maybe use some side cutters just to get that out. And check out. Could have just put a terminal block on the old cord, but I mean it's got to go eventually, so I might just completely pull that out of there and get rid of it. Maybe now that it's out of the way a bit. Maybe, yeah, no, I think I'll just cut the earth, leaving a little bit behind so I know where it went. And the active and neutral. That cable clamp grommet. Don't know if that'll go back in that hole, but if it does I might as well just store it in there. Easy enough to get out later. I doubt I'll be doing much more with this than having a quick play with it. See if I can get it running temporarily, and then it's probably only good for the rubbish heap anyway. Or maybe keep it on the pile of novelty electronics. So I'll just temporarily hook up this little figure 8 cable. Should really be earthed, but just for test purposes I think it'll be alright. And we'll cover that back up so it's reasonably safe. That was our speaker wire. So at least I can get power into this thing now. If I can reach a power point with it. Something sounds a bit like it's burning. Oh, it is. Whoops. My mistake, I left the board loose. That was a stupid idea. And we've cooked a resistor. Oh, is that the amplifier chip? Let's hope not. Oh, it does feed into it, so I might have done something nasty there. Or maybe it was originally faulty, but that was a bit of a mistake. Silly me. Not as cautious as I should have been. It's not short of the ground. Don't know how many ohms that is. I might just check before it cooks anymore. At the moment it's about 10 ohms. So that was a silly idea. I forgot the board was loose because I haven't touched this for a few days. You should always put circuit boards back in place so they can't touch on anything. Good lesson there. And who knows, it might have survived, it might not have. It's no big loss if it didn't, but I might even put that earth screw back in. Now the other problem is I don't think this isn't set to 110 volts or something stupid, is it? Oh. Oops, I did that with the power on, that was smart. I am losing the plot today. Well, at least the resistors stopped smoking. Yeah, I could have sworn I turned that off. Must have just grabbed it and moved it. Very weird. Oh, did I just turn the power switch off maybe and that was it? Shows you how dangerous these things are when you're not thinking what you're doing. So when we turn it on now, no smoke, so that's a good sign. Hopefully that resistor was just the amp chip or something shorting on the case. That was here. 23 volts. Thankfully we didn't blow the chip, I don't think, otherwise it would still be smoking. So it's probably actually a working unit besides those belts being worn out. It's probably just been put in a cupboard for years. That's eject. Fast forward, rewind, don't seem to do anything. Is that motor still going? Yep. Oh, yeah, that motor looks like that is running. I just couldn't hear it, but it's now that belt has just turned into a knot. So I think, oh yeah, look at it. It's definitely turning. Let's get rid of that horrible mess of a belt. It actually, thankfully, all came off. Amazing. Might even keep that because that's got the length I need. Yes, that motor's whipping away. Making a bit of noise now. So it's got a separate motor for rewind, fast forward. And the other one's doing the capstan, so it's obviously a play mode. Oh, actually. Oh, yeah. Well, what does... Oh, maybe the other one does the idler in play as well. I've got a counter belt here too, which is a bit of a mess. I've never seen a counter belt come off on an angle. Comes off an angle in the back here around 2 pulleys. So normally that would be like facing upwards and just have a belt straight to the reel, but this is actually twisted on an angle round 2 pulleys and to the tape counter, so they obviously couldn't be bothered making their own special tape counter or something. They just got an off the shelf one. I kind of like that, that's a bit different. Let's get that belt out. So again, that's still usable, so this has just been caught in the nick of time. But the next problem is I don't know how to put this into play. It's going to be something like, yeah, that solenoid lifts it up. Oh yeah, and then the take-up reel goes at the same time. So hang on, what's the... Ah, is that running off... Ah, there's another pulley down the other side, so we've got a central, like idler, it's just a pulley really that goes to that other motor for rewind, fast forward. Or if that was working it would. And in play mode, this take-up reel touches on a different little pulley that comes off the main capstan, comes off this, there's a clutch and stuff on this little idler here. So quite a different design to the usual setup. That something there's a bit sticky. Grease has had its day, I'd say. Well, this spring certainly isn't pulling as tight, but it'd be more likely there's some friction there somewhere. Could be the spring. That doesn't quite retract like it should. So this must be, again, a remote control unit is what's meant to switch it, and at least it's not a mechanical, electromechanical kind of unit, so it shouldn't be hard to work out what pins what. But why are there so many? Oh well, most of them aren't even connected, so thank God for that. Why would you put a connector with that many pins and you've only connected 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them? So you can be pretty sure. What's this other little socket for? Is that headphones or something else? Oh, there's a switch for speaker on off. Connector doesn't say on there what that does. And on here it still doesn't say what the socket's for. Well, I guess I could look to see if it's in series with the speaker connector. But I'm guessing that's probably something as simple as a voltage coming up one of those pins. It is yellow and red wire that come over to this connector. Where are our speaker wires? There's the black and orange. Black and orange Where does the black and orange go? Oh, it does come up to this board somewhere. Oh, it is on that connector. I've actually got a pin kind of pulling out of one of these. One of these connector pins is about to fall out. This orange thing, I don't know if that's because of me yanking on it, but that's almost pulled out of the plastic connector there. And something looks to have been warm there. I guess it's just up against the connector. So black and red, black and orange is right on the end of 10. Goes to another connector here. What the actual, one of which goes to that. It just immediately gets complicated as soon as you look at it. The black is the 5th one along. Ground, so that's simple enough. But why does our speaker, what was it, the yellow and, no, yellow and red, oh yeah, yellow and red. Is it that, yellow and red though? It is. So that socket goes to the 2nd and the 4th from this end. 4th is ground. 2nd is a 220 ohm resistor, which comes back to another pin. Who knows? But could that be the speaker output or something? Oh, those two pins are joined, and then it comes back up to the first connector, which is a brown wire. It comes back over this way somewhere. Oh no! It is, I've broken the speaker on off switch. How did that happen? Oh no. I'm really having zero luck with this thing. I must have bumped it on something. There goes the ball bearing out of that. It's stuffed. So it may be speaker related and headphone related if we've got a speaker on off switch. So maybe that originally switched to the headphone, or well, it's got 6 connections just to switch or does it? 3 connections maybe. No, yeah, they just doubled up. That's okay. I'm going to say 3 connections just to switch a speaker on and off. That makes sense, but 6 would have been insane. So we've got a pink wire, pink wire, pink wire, pink wire comes all the way back over here somewhere, which gets back into this other thing I was looking at here, that capacitor there. And back to pin 10, which is the one of the speaker connections there. So why go to all this trouble? It's like it feeds back through a capacitor into something. So the speaker goes back from the pink wire, which is the one end of this switch, which I assume would be the on position, and it says it's the off position. Okay, I believe it, unless this has been turned around. I think it was around that way originally. The brown wire has to be the bloody speaker output of the amp chip, but that comes back, loops through here, comes back to the 3rd pin. The 3rd pin is that orange one that goes, oh yeah, the orange one, how does it go to there? This isn't making any sense. Where's the actual signal come out? Everything loops back to itself. That doesn't make any sense. One side of the speaker goes to ground, the other one comes to here, which goes to there, which goes to the switch. The switch comes back to a wire that joins to a wire. Oh man, I don't even want to know. So it looks like it's the orange and grey wire on the back of this connector, which is this very end pin, and the one above it are the ones that set this to play. If I put this 120 ohm resistor in there, it should trigger the solenoid, although it hasn't gone right up there for some reason. Oh, still, it's not making a very good connection, but when it does, the pinch roller engages with the solenoid, like so. So I'd assume if I put a speaker on there, we've probably got a cassette player in that mode. I kind of only found that by accident. I was checking the other wires, which I thought were the ones that were ones to flick the solenoid, and I touched both of those together, and that actually set it going. So I probably would have found it eventually, but I found it a bit earlier than planned. So let's hook those back together. If I can get them to stay together. And we have humming out of the... Ah, the head's not... There we go. Whoops. And I've disconnected again. I'm going to have to wire those together, I think. That's not volume. Oh, that's volume. Okay, I think I need a clip lead. So on that, add up the orange. This is a risk of shorting onto other things here. Orange to the grey. Yeah, I really don't like using clip leads for things because they tend to come off and short out on other things and cause all sorts of grief. So that's even with that knackered belt there. So we can fast forward. Although the motor doesn't work. Ooh, that really ejects things. But now we're stuck in play mode, I guess. It's touching on the side, isn't it? Right. Oops, of course, as soon as you get it where you want it, the bloody clip lead falls off. That's the tone control. I guess if you're desperate for a mono cassette player, I could put new belts in that and get it going. But to be honest, that's a 32 ohm speaker, so that's rather high. I was going to say the speaker's probably more useful out of it. And maybe even these tape deck motors. But shows you can get the thing going by bypassing a couple of terminals. You'd have to put like a toggle switch or something there, I guess, to switch it on and off from play mode. Or it could be handy if you ever wanted a electronically controlled tape deck, which in the modern world really isn't worth a bother, but it would have been handy since it's solenoid operated. Any sort of switch or other device could set this into motion. So it would make a good automatic, some sort of automatic announcement thing or something. Switch gets pressed, mechanism starts up, maybe runs for a set time and drops out, but then of course you can't rewind it. Not without pressing these switches. I think these are just electronic switches. They do latch, but all they actually do is press a couple of switches. So it's almost a logic controlled tape deck in a way. Which I kind of guess makes sense when you've got the remote control. I think this rewind or fast forward, one of those may also be wired up to the connector there. They certainly come over to these switches here. A couple of the wires. I'm not sure what the other ones do. One goes over to this potentiometer, which I'm not sure what that does. It could be record volume, it could be motor speed or something. Not really sure about that. But anyway, so this thing does work. It does need new belts. But to be honest, I don't think I'll bother. I might actually remove the belts from it so that they don't cause any grief to anything. That one's still got a bit of life in it, I guess. And what I should do, I guess, is mark down the lengths of them all, measure them all, so I know roughly what they are. And then throw them out, at least the ones that are getting really bad. And I guess it wouldn't hurt to maybe make a diagram. It's pretty obvious something probably goes around the side of that. You soon find out when the deck starts up, or you can spin the different pieces by hand once you know which directions they're meant to go, and it'll soon tell you which side of that pulley the belt needs to go to get everything running together. Yeah, a bit of an interesting unit. Purely a mono playback deck only, but it does have sort of semi-logic controls. These are probably a bit harder to do. They got double pole, double throw switches on it. All the other idlers and stuff in here seem to be alright. Could do with a lube by the sound of it. Maybe it'd be good for a few pinch rollers and bits and pieces. It's possibly something that could be salvaged out of this, maybe the idler tyres on the reels. But other than that, not a real lot of use. Thanks for watching.